Hey guys, welcome to the RAMZPAUL show. It is December 13th, Friday. I just realized today's Friday the 13th. I don't know. Did you consider that unlucky? I've never had that superstition. But how could a Friday be unlucky? I've always loved Fridays, probably my favorite day. Even though I don't have a corporate job anymore, I still love Fridays. So it's been a busy time of year. I hope you guys are all having a good Christmas season. Uh, we're busy. Tomorrow, Sasha and I were going to a cat show. I don't think I've ever been to a cat show before, so it should be some fun. And then we're having a get together at our house with some people. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just busy time this time of year, but that's good, right? After you die, you have a lot of time to rest. So I hope you guys are doing well, and thank you for joining me. We stream every Monday through Friday. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Fridays a Ramsey Paul show, where we dig into, a few items in the news. And Wednesdays, Happy Homelands, which I did with Alicia. I hope you guys enjoy that. And Sasha and I, we do Night Owls. It just depends on Sasha's schedule, but that's a blast. That's probably my favorite show. So, and Friday's a fun show because this is sort of open forum Friday. I have some topics, but we could talk about whatever you want. And you're welcome to call into the show if you want. That'd be great. And let me just give you guys a link here if you want to call in and ask a question or have a comment. Just keep it, short, but I'll put this in. When are we getting that dance? I did my dance, Big Papa Monk. It's on Rumble. I did my dance and it was a good dance. So I did my dance, and I'm going to put the StreamYard link in here. I'll probably do this later in the show too if you guys want to join in or something, ask a question. And let's see what else we have. So yeah, busy time of year. And I will get right into the show. The first thing I wanted to talk about was Donald Trump is the man of the year. And already some of the shit libs, oh, you know who else was man of the year? Hitler. Trump is literally Hitler. It's just so stupid. I guess it's person of the year now. Although sometimes it's not even a person. I think I remember that it's Time Magazine does this. And I think it was in the 80s, didn't it? The personal computer once win the man of the year. It's just really stupid. I mean, what's next? The AIDS virus is going to be man of the year. So it doesn't really mean a lot, but I guess it's cool to see Trump got it. He definitely was he surprised me. I'm going through my old prediction video because that's coming out next week. I'm going to review my predictions. I had no idea Trump would win. He just seemed so much stacked against him. He had all those legal cases. He was found guilty. He had a felony, the whole bit. He got 2 assassination attempts. One hit him in the ear. It came like that far away from being killed. It's just really amazing if you think about it. And it's just been a crazy year. And Trump, he's just overcome it all. Whatever you think about him, good or bad, he's like a larger than life figure now. So I think it's well deserving that he is man of the year. Oh, by the way, guys, if you want to contribute to the show and super chats or talk, YouTube has super chats, Rumble has rants, Powerchats is on the link below. Powerchats you can do day or night, and I'll get it. And in the description, there's Stream Elements. They have a chat feature too. And I appreciate getting that. It makes the show fun, and you can get your viewpoint in. And also, I included the Stream Yards link if you want to come in. And I won't have video, but if you want to ask a question, like a call in or comment, that is good. All right, let's take a look at some of this Man of the Year stuff here by Donald Trump.
Former president of the United States dropped by his tower, was able to stay at home last night, and then is going to be ringing the bell, and he's got to be excessively happy because we know
That's a cool pick too. Usually the media, they make him look real orange and stuff, and this is kind of a powerful picture, and it's a little trick they're doing in photography. when you take a picture looking up at someone, it makes that person look more dominant. It's a little trick they do. And Give Time Magazine credit. They weren't trying to smear him with the picture here.
He likes to collect magazine covers.
Right.
But now he doesn't have to mock one up. For the second time, he is Time Magazine's Person of the Year. To me, there are other contenders, but if they did anything but name him, that would be flat out biased.
Well,
Yeah, the only other person I could see that could be Man of the Year, and he was nominated. I use Man of the Year. I don't do Person of the Year. Elon Musk was a pivotal figure. I could see him being the Man of the Year. What he's done, taking over Twitter, changing it to X, making it a free speech platform. I know he didn't take it over this year, but he really transformed it. And he really helped work on Trump's campaign. After Trump got shot, that's when Elon Musk went all in on Trump. So and then all the stuff he's doing with Starlink and Tesla and SpaceX. So he'd be my second choice. I know they had Kamala Harris as a nominee. She was horrible. So I think they did it right here.
so Time.com has just released that, and I'm looking at the actual article, and it's great. It said, and the subheadline is, "If what comes next is anything like what he promises, Trump will reshape the nation and the world." And that is why so many people, according to polls, which we're going to get into very shortly, people are really optimistic about the next 4 years.
I'm pretty optimistic. It's easy to be blackpilled. And no, I don't think Trump is going to deport all the illegal aliens or anything like that. I'm realistic, and he's not going to transform us back to the 1980s. But if anyone can shake things up, I think it's Trump. And I'm hoping he's learned a lot from his first administration about what not to do. And also, I think the mood of the nation is different now. The left, in many ways, they seem demoralized. I don't even think there'll be a lot of riots when Trump is inaugurated. You remember the first time they burned half of Washington, D.C. down, set a limousine on fire. If you looked at at night, the whole city was on fire. It was crazy, the times we went through. I don't think we're going to see that. Just like when Daniel Penny was found not guilty, a lot of people were predicting riots by Black Lives Matter. There wasn't any of it. I think there's a different vibe now, a different change in the attitude. I don't think people want the violence. And so I'm optimistic too, especially in certain things like with crypto. He's a real fan of crypto. That's been going up a lot. And I think with peace, I do think he's going to wind down the war with Ukraine. Yeah, his Israel first stuff I don't really care about, but I'm hoping. I don't really think he wants to get in a war with Iran. I think he wants to talk tough. The economy, he's going to open up the energy, so that should help. I'm cautiously optimistic. Why not? This is a Christmas season. We don't always have to be so negative. Let's have at least a few months where we're optimistic. Then we can get blackpilled. I'm sure he'll do things we don't like. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
Look, over the last 4 years, things have not gone well, and people are ready for something new, something better.
He was Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 2016 when he won that election. Also up for the other contenders were Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, he's influential as a podcaster, but not Man of the Year.
And Elon Musk.
Elon Musk was a good candidate.
Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton? What has she done exactly? I don't. What?
And Kamala Harris. But
and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well,
that's right.
It's hard to believe that the election was just last month. And I mean,
feels like he's already the president, right?
Exactly. I mean, and to Joe Biden's credit, he's essentially stepped out of the way.
Joe Biden's been out of the way for the past 4 years. Joe Biden hasn't been running anything.
And allowed Donald Trump to start doing what he's doing right now. And I think when you look at the other people that were considered, he was the only choice. I mean, you can't have Kamala Harris that lost the election then become the person of the year.
But by the way, as Trump moved in, he has Steve Witkoff over with in the Middle East. He's got Tom Homan working the border, doing this appearances. Already. So he's got that going. The president of the United States got rid of the FBI director, put so much pressure on him. He actually saluted the moment that he stepped aside. Great day.
Yeah, the FBI director stepped down. And we're going to talk about that because it turns out there were a lot of FBI informants in January 6th. And yes, the FBI informants went into the Capitol. And yes, the FBI actually paid the travel expenses to some of the informants. So what was used to be, a conspiracy theory is true. So we'll talk about that. And as the FBI director is stepping down, he's probably hoping for a pardon from Joe Biden. Joe Biden's just pardoning all these criminals as he goes out. We'll get to that too. Yeah, there's good. And did you see Patriot Front? I heard a rumor on Vox Day that they're going to be scaling down or may even be shutting down because I think they're kind of a little bit of a honey trap. I'm sure the FBI is involved with that too. So we see a lot of things happening here.
For America, and then he's got his nominees stealing out of the spotlight in Capitol Hill, so they're following him around.
And he's already calling the Prime Minister of Canada, meeting with him. He's already calling
the Governor of Canada. The Governor of Canada is what he's calling him.
But Angel, you know what's different now?
What?
It's not really Trump tweeting or going. It's kind of like the things he's doing rather than the things he's saying.
Action.
You think he learned from mistakes 4 years ago?
I don't know. I think it's definitely intentional. I also don't think he's not in the middle of an investigation. Yeah. No one's questioning the authenticity of his election. No. They're not talking about Michael Flynn making a call from Puerto Rico and them saying he's talking to the Russians about some secret deal to toss.
Yeah, that is the big thing. I haven't heard any, Trump is a secret Russian, and that's how we got in. We're hearing none of that.
Even Fetterman was tweeting on Truth Social. I think he's the first Democratic lawmaker to get on Truth Social and tweeted out that Donald Trump should be pardoned for the case here in New York.
You know what?
Fetterman almost seems to be coming over on the Republican side. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. I don't know. He's had a real transformation that's really interesting. We're seeing a lot of people. It could be fake. Maybe they see which way the wind's blowing, but Fetterman has really changed there. And for him to be on Truth Social, I've never been on Truth Social. I don't care about it. Donald Trump created that when he was banned from Twitter. Now he's reinstated on X, but he still owns Truth Social, so he posts on Truth Social. They call it a post or a truth. It's kind of cringe. I don't go there. It's like an echo chamber. And a lot of the liberals, they went to, what was it, Blue Sky? It's like a big gay place, a gay echo chamber. And they all went there, and they all started then try to ban each other. I mean, that's what they do. That's how they run. I've not been over to Blue Sky. I wish a lot of them would just go over there or stay, but they'll come back. They always come back. Because the leftists, part of their makeup or wokeism, it is a religion. It's a religion without God, but it's still a religion, and they're very cultish, and they want to do missionary work. And so if they can't be around like us evil Nazi right-wingers, whatever they call us, they just turn on each other. And that's what's happening in Blue Sky. And I've heard the growth has really dropped off. It went up really quick, and it's like, shoot. Wasn't there something else before Blue Sky they were trying to go to, like Threads or something? I don't even, was that Facebook or Meta or whatever that is? Do people still use Facebook besides boomers? I never use it.
To your point about why he's doing things differently last time, I think last time when he won, it was kind of a surprise. It's like, okay, I ran for a year, but I won. Now what do I do? He's done it once before.
Yeah, that's true.
Some mistakes are always made along the way, but he's figured out how he has wanted to do it more efficiently. Mm-hmm. And so far, so good. And
Elise Stefanik, by the way, got the Fetterman endorsement yesterday. That's the first time I've seen a Democrat come out and say that. Yeah, then they took a picture together.
And to your point about Joe Biden just laying low, he's not doing anything except an historic number of pardons and commutations. Over 1,500 issues.
Yeah, this has been crazy. We're going to talk about all these pardons Biden's been doing. And Biden doesn't know. He doesn't know all these 1,500 people. His staff has been giving them all these criminals to pardon. We'll look into some of that.
issued this morning.
I don't think he's going to give us any comment about that.
I don't think so either.
Anyway,
By the way, Biden's popularity is at almost an all-time low. He's a very unpopular president. He's going to go down as a really failed president. Anytime you only serve one term and your own party comes to you in the middle of the night and says you need to step down from running. Remember, he was running. I'm sharp as a tack. He's sharp as a tack. I'm not stepping down. Then, they come to him in the middle of the night. Was it Nancy Pelosi or whatever? And Schumer. And then they demanded he step down. Otherwise, they may do investigations with his corrupt son. And then it was like a hostage situation. It was really weird. And there was this memo that was sent out. Yeah, that's a failure. He's going to come across as I think one of the worst presidents we've ever had. Not just on his politics, but as I don't know if any other president's been so weak. You could say Jimmy Carter was weak, and he kind of was, but he kind of still was trying to be involved. He was kind of wishy-washy. Whereas Biden was just senile the whole time. He didn't know what the hell was going on. It was a real embarrassment to our country, him being the so-called president. I put president in quotes. Was he even president? Officially, but he didn't really run things. In fact, remember, I did stories where he would complain. He wouldn't know what his staff's doing. They would have policies. They wouldn't tell him. They scripted everything for him. They gave him a teleprompter, which he had troubles reading. He was constantly sleeping. It was a joke.
Well, we're calling this the Trump effect, and it is in full swing. The last Fox News poll of the year is showing that the majority of voters feel hopeful about his victory, 54%.
That's right. And with under 6 weeks until Inauguration Day on January 20th at noon, plans are well underway, including an invitation to the China President Xi Jinping to show up live in Washington. If he accepted, he would be the first foreign leader to ever attend.
Is that right? That's right? The first foreign
I'm
leader
hoping
to ever attend?
it's in the script.
Okay.
That doesn't sound right. You mean the British prime ministers never attended or something? That sounds wrong.
And Trump's inaugural fund getting a boost from a surprising source, from Mark Zuckerberg's Meta.
Meta. Is that that's what Facebook is now? It's funny how Mark Zuckerberg now has even gotten someone on the Trump train. I think a lot of the elite people realize this country has a lot of problems financially, and they understand we need a serious president in there. I know it's kind of funny to talk about Trump being serious, but it's amazing how they're bending the knee now. A lot of these people, we had Zuckerberg, of course, Elon Musk, even Bezos is warming up now to Trump a little bit. And Larry Ellison, I think, of Oracle. These were a lot of these people. In fact, all of them used to be Democrats. So Trump he's able to get people to bend the knee. He has that quality about him, larger than life. I'm currently reading again about the Revolutionary War, and George Washington had that quality. He wasn't a great orator, but he had enemies, but the people that followed him, they just adored Washington. He had that charisma, or not so much the charisma on how he talked, but gravitas. He just had a way about him. He was a very tall man for the time, like 6'2", which was unusual. Big guy, too. But he was a real commanding presence. And Trump sort of has a little bit of that. And well, Trump does have that. When Trump's in the room, when you see him with foreign leaders, it's just everyone kind of gravitates around him. I hate to use the term alpha because it's been so misused, but you get the idea. He's like the alpha. Everyone just looks to him. He's kind of the center of attention. He's very confident. Whereas Biden, he was like the nursing home patient that would wander off and other people have to get him. So it's really a contrast. And Trudeau or Zelensky, when they're at these meetings, they all look lost. And Trudeau looks so weak. He just looks like a bitch. And Trump just bullies him. It's just so funny because if anyone deserves to be bullied, it's Trudeau.
Donating $1 million as the tech billionaire looks to...
$1 million? I mean, come on. That's nothing for this guy. That'd be like, I don't know. I mean, he's a multi-billionaire, so it'd be like me giving $10 or something. Like these guys, $1 million is nothing.
in ties with Trump, because remember he took him off of Facebook
right.
in 2021 and then put him back on a few years later. That tells you a lot that they're mending
It's
their
changed.
relationship.
Yeah, he grew his hair out and he started doing jujitsu. I don't know if it's related. No more
And he wanted to take on.
You know, we joked about it, but he did start to get more in shape and work out. And there is correlation with, at least with men, that work out and are in more in shape. They tend to be more right wing, and you kind of get the old, you know, the soy boys or Democrats. And I think there might be something true to that. Now, some of this just may be a little bit cynical. All businessmen, they want to be in good with who's ever in charge. So it could just be some of that too.
Elon Musk, and it never happened.
Yeah, he's trying to look more like Danny Penny, perhaps. Also, remember, the Zuckerbucks in those key districts made him put his hand on the scale with the shadow banning of the conservative groups.
Now, I'm shadow banned on YouTube. So make sure you like and subscribe. And if you like this, also on Rumble, join. I'm not shadow banned on Rumble or X. God bless Elon Musk and X. When I was shadow banned on X until Elon Musk took over. When I was on X, I was like stuck at 60,000 people, followers. And then now I'm up to 155. So I wish I could do that on YouTube, but I am shadow banned. But like and subscribe, maybe it helps some.
Conservative politicians. And he's not the only one putting differences aside. Democratic Senator John Fetterman joining Truth Social to, quote, meet folks where they are, especially in Pennsylvania, by the way, and calling to pardon Trump in his very first post. He also mentioned Hunter.
And
I'm Steve.
Yeah, good for Fetterman. He seems to be coming around, so good for that. Hey, I got one from California Tune. Let me just copy and paste this over. And thank you for being here, guys. Oh, I'll put my link if anyone wants to call in and ask a question or something. Join Blue Sky and have been having a great time trolling all the MAGA haters who thought they could silence us. Look for Dolphin of 1776. All right. So if any of you are on Blue Sky, I have to be honest, I'm not going to bother to get on there. Give Dolphin of 1776 on. I'm glad you haven't got banned yet, Dolphin, because I heard they banned pretty quick over there. Someone just posted there were only 2 genders and they got banned right away. So, but I hope you don't get banned, and thank you. I appreciate that. And Carl Merger, great to meet you at Ameren. Looking forward to see you in Northwest Arkansas. You know, I had the greatest time in American Renaissance. Man, it's always a blast. It's like my favorite time. And I told Sasha she'd never been there. And it was one of her bucket items. She always wanted to meet Jared Taylor. And so this was the way to do it. And I hadn't been back there for a long time because after Charlottesville and all that, nothing to do with Jared. I just wanted to focus on streaming. And I'm so glad I went back, and Sasha had a blast. And I really highly recommend you guys going, not just for the speeches, but just to meet everyone. It's just a really good vibe. There weren't many protesters this year compared to previous when I was there. I think they're very demoralized. And met Anthony Cumia. He was a blast. He's a funny guy. And all sorts of people. I forget all. Amy Wax was there. She's that professor that talked about race realism at, I think, his University of Pennsylvania. Very nice lady. I talked to her, and I met some people on my Gumroad and other people like this gentleman, and it was really good. It was just a great experience. I highly recommend if you get a chance to do it. It's at least once in your life go. It's just fun. It's a beautiful area too in Tennessee, Montgomery Bell State Park, and it's just a really good vibe about it. I really loved it, so I really recommend doing that. And my speech they haven't released yet because I asked not to be released right away. I'll probably have it released a little bit later. I just wanted to kind of lay low for a bit. I was what they call the mystery speaker because I was like, I don't know. I kind of just got jaded, not with American Renaissance, but I quit doing interviews and I don't know. So I will have that speech released here in a little bit. So Thank you for that, though. But it was a great time. It was great meeting you, too. If you guys get a chance, and you can also meet Sasha. A lot of people like to meet Sasha. Sasha is, she's done, we're married and we do night owls together, and she jumps in and helps me in a lot of other things, too. So a lot of people wanted to meet her. And I really, I think Sasha brings a good perspective to things because a lot of times they always try to pigeonhole people, and Sasha is not just some stereotype. She's very outspoken. She has her own opinion. She's intelligent, and I think people like the way she is. So it was great to have her there. Nick Fuentes has begun selling T-shirts of his mugshot after shoving down an old lady down some stairs. He says he's just like Trump. Yeah, I made fun of Fuentes, and he probably got all the griper types. They got mad at me. I was just a joke because he did that because he saw, oh, Trump looks so tough in the mugshot. I'm going to look tough. And then there's, I don't know if I even have that up here, but I was joking about, the shooter, the CEO shooter mugshot. And I said something like the virgin old lady gasser versus the Chad CEO shooter. I guess, he wants to look badass, but, Nick's a little guy. There's nothing wrong with that. And he's pretty effeminate. Let's just put it that way. And the crime wasn't like some badass crime. It was macing an old lady. I don't know. So yeah, whatever. If he can grift off that one, that's fine. And I have nothing against Nick. He's a very talented man. He just went in a weird direction. It's kind of sad when people get a little bit of fame in our sphere, like Richard Spencer and others. They just go off a weird track. I don't know what it is. But yeah, he's figured out the real problem is not, well, who, they're the problem, but mostly it's women. Women are the problem in the world. So I don't know. I think something weird probably happened with Nick, with some woman or something. I don't know his background, but he's got an issue there. But yeah, I'm not surprised he's selling T-shirts. And let's see here. Yeah, I'll get all the gripers mad at me. That's like a weird cult now. It's bizarre. Blue Eye White Dragon. That's a cool name. What is your opinion of Operation Hydrump? Are aliens really just Antarctic Germans with anti-gravity flying machines? Think Wiener Mobile. I wish there were anti-gravity machines. I wish that the Nazis had a secret base in Antarctica. That'd be fine with me. But alas, I don't believe that. And I don't know what anti-gravity means even. I'm friends with a physicist, astrophysicist, and we talked about this. There's no anti-gravity. I mean, there's gravity, but that's the whole thing. And I guess we'll talk about this later in the show, and I disagree with like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson. I don't think there's aliens flying around in spacecraft. I just don't. I'm skeptical. If there are some, please show me a real photo. Everyone's got a camera now. Show me a good photo. I don't want some blurry light. I want to see something, something I can really see. And with everyone having really good cameras now, right? We all have these cameras that it would just amaze people in the 70s. They're really good. Why can't someone get a good shot of something? That's because I think they're mistaking what they're seeing. They see a light. Ooh, there's a stationary object in the sky. Well, it's probably not stationary. You're probably looking at it coming right at you, and it looks from your vantage point being stationary. And I don't think the UFO or the secret drone from the government has lights on it. It's probably just a commercial aircraft. You're getting confused. And then there's a power of suggestion. We saw this with COVID or anything else. There's the satanic panic in the 80s where all the Satanists were capturing little kids and eating them or whatever. People tend to get in hysteria, and I'm just skeptical about this whole drone thing. I think it kind of feeds on itself. I guess it could be the government. If they are real, it's probably the government. But why do they need them in New Jersey? When they test their tech, they test it in what's called Area 51. That's not what they call it, but they have all these Air Force bases in Nevada. They test like stealth bombers and stuff. I don't think they're going to test it over New Jersey. So I know that doesn't get the clicks, though. It doesn't get the clicks. All the alien stuff gets the clicks. So I would like it to be an alien. I think that'd be cool, but I just don't. I'm just skeptical of aliens, to be honest. Especially when you understand how vast the universe is and the speed of light constraint, and there's just a lot of issues, I think, with aliens. I have even a more radical position, and my friend has this position too. He's an astrophysicist. He's brilliant. And I follow this guy called Cool Astronomy. He's kind of argued for this too. There's a really good chance there's not any other intelligent life in the entire universe. And I was asking my astrophysicist friend about that, and he's also a Christian. And he said, yeah, because it's a very uncomfortable question, because if we're the only intelligent life in the universe, that's pretty profound, because it brings you a lot of ways to God and everything else. And I think even without the spiritual aspect of it, all the conditions that had to be just perfect for this to happen. You know, like the moon, the exact same size as the sun to block it out at the distance. I mean, so, and everything is just lined up that would be almost impossible to do. So I know I'm the minority on it. I know a lot of people believe in like a Star Wars universe or Star Trek. There's millions of alien civilizations. I would like to believe that, but we listen and we don't hear anything. And you think if they evolved similar to us, they would be radios out there, and, or, you know, we'd hear something, but everything's really, really quiet out there. And so the question, it's Fermi paradox, I think they call it. Why aren't we hearing things? And one of the answers could be because nothing's out there. But people don't like that, so I don't know. Good question though. I got one from Louis Barrow. Thank you, Louis Barrow. It's good to see you here. The powers that be don't want Jared Taylor to be heard because he's a reasonable, normal person. I'm sure they would love for him to dress up the KKK and start doing salutes from the 1930s. Yeah, it was funny. Jared Taylor laughed when I gave my speech because I said one of the things I appreciate about Jared Taylor is he's never become goofy. And he's like, I'm happy I've never become goofy. And he hasn't. He's always been a normal person. And I know a lot of people, you know, oh, normies. But I'm not saying our politics should be, quote, normie. But how we act, I don't think there's anything wrong with acting like normal people and not acting like a total weirdo, right? I remember the alt-right movement. It started with just normal people had these, you know, concerns about race, immigration, outsourcing, you know, all that stuff, and about the role of women and men, feminism. And it was real positive. And then all of a sudden, all these freaks started to get involved. Richard Spencer had his right-hand man, Solus Invictus. I think he literally changed his name to that, meaning the everlasting sun god. I'm like, okay. And he would sacrifice goats and drink their blood. And he really thought he was like a Roman emperor. Not LARPing, he thought he was. I mean, you see the problem with this, right? So you could have the best message in the world, but if you run around thinking that you're the everlasting sun god, it may not resonate with people. And then you had Matt Heimbach pretending he was in the 1930s, and they had their little plastic helmets. And then he got in trouble. He got in, you know, it's just such a Jerry Springer trash episode. He was looking on a box with his, who was it? Was his father-in-law having sex with his wife? I don't know. It's just bizarre. And they had a fight in the trailer park, and it spilled over to Walmart. I'm like, talk about a cliche. It was just, was it Matt Parrott or something? It just became a zoo, and just silly people, stupid people. And then who was that crying Nazi? Remember him? I forget his name. I think he went to prison. It's just all sorts of weird individuals. And there's nothing wrong with being weird. I'm kind of weird too, but there's not, I really appreciate someone like Jared Taylor. It's not trying to grift. That's just always the same. That's always articulate. It's not doing weird stuff. And I agree. I think they worry more about that than anything else. What they hate, the woke hates, number one, is being laughed at. They really hate being laughed at because humor can really dissolve them, their positions. And they hate people that act kind of normal. They don't really mind so much. In fact, I think the ADL-SPLC, I can't prove it, but I think they actually pay people to put on an act, or the FBI, because it helps to discredit certain movements, right? So they get someone that's just ridiculous, that's supposed to be on your side, and they're just kooky, and they do that on purpose to try to discredit ideas. And so Jared Taylor, I have the utmost respect for. And by the way, I've done this for a long time, and I've met a lot of these characters, and there's a handful of people I really respect. Most people I do not respect in real life once I meet them. Sasha kind of got a little black-pilled about that too. She loves Jared Taylor. But there's a lot of people, in the, I don't know what you call this, in the E-sphere, whatever, E-celebs. Most E-celebs are pieces of shit. They really are. I hate to say that, but they are. They'll stab you in the back for a nickel, and they're fake, and I don't know. Yeah, but Jared Taylor's always genuine. I really do like him. California Tune. Thank you, California Tune. Let's see here. The problem with Nick Fuentes is he's now being used by the media to tar and feather all people on the right. I have seen this several fairly big leftists use what he says to define the rest of us. Basically, he's a new Richard Spencer making us look crazy. Yeah, and before that, they had David Duke fill that role for a little bit, and on and on. That's why the media will pump someone up, not because they like what they have to say, but they want to discredit it. And part of the sphere we're in is just not ideology or their real beliefs, but in order to keep getting an audience, you need to be more and more extreme, right? You got to go wackier and wackier, and you get impurity spirals. And that happened on the alt-right. And so I was like in the original alt-right, then I was like, oh, you're banished, you're a cock, you punch right, when they're doing all their Hollywood Nazi stuff. I'm like, guys, I don't think that's a good idea. You're a cock. And then you saw where that ended up. It ended up in Charlottesville, a lot of people arrested, Richard Spencer getting all the lawsuits. And then because of that, he had a flip, and now he's a shitlib. It just happens over and over. Yeah, that is the thing. And of course the media will do that. They used Fuentes when after the election, until 30 minutes after the election, Fuentes was opposed to Trump. He was supposedly at Groiper War II to get people in Michigan, Muslims, not to vote for Trump unless Trump gave in to his demands. It was ridiculous. But an hour after Trump won, Nick claimed credit for it. Yeah. And then the media, then he says stuff like, it was kind of funny, but, your body, my choice. And that got all the hysterical women crying, which was funny. But the media was able to say, see, this is what Trump's all about. He's about denying women have agency over their bodies. And, Trump has nothing to do with Nick. The whole MAGA GOP, no way. There's no way they would ever have anything to do with that. He's sort of, or any politician now either. He's pretty isolated, really. It's kind of got into a cult phenomenon now. But that's too bad, because there was a time with America First, when it was started as, oh, let's, kind of clean up the alt-right, have good optics, and that all sadly went out the window. But, maybe he'll change. I'll say good things about Nick. I think he is intelligent. He's a good speaker. And I think he's got a lot of talent. I really do. I think he struggles a lot. And I don't have a problem with him being a virgin. I think he's got, I don't believe like homosexuality is something innate in someone. I think it's an action. And if you don't act on it, I think that's good. I don't know if he is, but he seems disgusted with women. But yeah, I don't think he's, I never thought he was with Destiny, that famous blowjob video. I never thought that was Nick. I don't think Nick's done that. So that's good for him. Hopefully, though, I would like Nick to understand that women, while they have a role, they're different than men. I'm against the 19th Amendment. I believe in a hierarchy, but I don't think women are evil or the enemy or anything like that. I think in a healthy society, we need women, obviously. That's God says it. And there was a whole thing where the Groypers got mad at, that wife jack or whatever that was with, it was all strange, but this idea that if you love your wife, that's cringe. You shouldn't love your wife. They're just to give you babies and you can hang around with your guy friends and watch Euphoria or whatever. No, I don't think that's biblical. I think the Bible tells us that husbands need to love their wives as Christ loved the church. So it's got into a very strange place there. So I reject the hatred of women. And this is ironic because I started my whole YouTube career being extremely anti-feminist, and I am anti-feminist. I don't believe in equality. I think men and women are different, but I don't see women as the enemy or something like that. So I think that was a issue there too. Let's see here. Chriserzen. How does a skeptic like you believe in the moon landing today? Did you see the recent Indian moon landing? It was comically fake. LMA. And no, I believe like the Earth is a sphere, and I do believe in the moon landing. And that'd be a whole show explaining why. I knew people that work on the Apollo project. I think all of that, and I know a lot of people mean that. They mean that well. I think a lot of this, and I'm not saying you are, okay, but I think there was almost a psyop to try to get people to believe ridiculous things like we didn't go to the moon or the Earth isn't round, it's flat, or just ridiculous things in order to try to discredit people when they question other topics, little historical incidents, let's just say that are kind of sketchy. Then they could see, how can you believe this guy? He doesn't believe in this historical event, but he thinks the Earth's flat. It's a way to discredit. I think there was a lot of reasoning behind that too. So just to understand, I do believe that the Earth is round. I do believe we went to the moon, which is really kind of a blood libel against us that we didn't, against white men. It was white men that got us to the moon. Only people who walked on the moon have been white Christian men. And the rockets that got there were an ex-Nazi. So I think it's a shame people don't believe in that. But, maybe one day if we ever devolve with like DEI and we're no longer able to fly aircraft, people will say that heavier than air flight was just a hoax. Maybe so one day. It's pretty weird. All right, but thank you. Everyone has their opinions. That's fine. I'm just not I'm not big on all that type of stuff too. And I'm skeptical about like UFOs landing and sodomizing people. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't believe in ghosts. It's fun though. I have no problem with it. I do believe in Santa Claus. I believe in Santa Claus. It's Christmas. And I determined to believe in Santa Claus. So, yeah. All right. All right. So we're having a good time. So that was Trump. All right. So what are we going to talk about now? Oh yeah, let's talk about this. The big one is these informants here. We'll do that topic. Breaking, the FBI had 26 confidential human sources at the Capitol on January 6th, including 4 who entered the Capitol building and 13 who entered the restricted area. So 19 out of the 26 were broke the law. And this used to be considered a conspiracy theory. I think January 6th was the setup by the left and by the FBI. They wanted to discredit Trump and make sure he would never run again. And FBI, they said this, their first priority was to target right-wing groups. And they spent a lot of money infiltrating right-wing groups and getting confidential informants in the groups. And just so I can explain to you how confidential informants work, these are not FBI agents. FBI doesn't do a lot of undercover anymore. They do some, but they don't do that much. And part of the reason in the 70s, they had an FBI agent work long-term undercover in organized crime like the mafia, but he was in it so long, he became sympathetic, and they saw a problem with it, if they keep him in too long. So they prefer to use confidential informants or assets, they call it. And typically what these people are, they get paid, but their motivation usually is they have a legal case against them, and the FBI will sit you down. Let's say, for example, if you encourage people to go into the Capitol, ignore the police, that's illegal. That's insurrection. Some people, they go to jail for that. And they could go up to you and they say, okay, here's the deal. We got you on video doing this. You face 20 years in prison and you're going to be convicted. And I don't think you want to spend 20 years in prison, right? So what we'll do, we'll drop these charges, but you got to work for us and provide names. And you're also going to be an asset for us to do what we want, maybe discredit the movement or something like that. That's how they work. And that's how most of these people work. So the 26 confidential human sources at the Capitol were probably people that had former legal problems, and they cut the deal with the government. And there was a famous Hal Turner in the 90s, I believe, 80s or 90s. He was like on the white nationalist scene or something. He was a shock jock, and he called for the death of judges, and he was arrested for that. And his defense in court was, well, wait a minute, I'm a confidential FBI informant, an asset. They told me to do stuff like this. It didn't help him, but it came out in court. He admitted he was. So they do use these people to try to shape a narrative and whatever, to discredit a group or cause issues with it. And so these were people. Now, since then, there was people afterwards, like I don't think Nick Fuentes at the time was a FBI asset. I really don't, during January 6th. So he wasn't one of these 26. The question was, afterwards, was he, when they had him, and because he was under investigation by the FBI for inciting, and I saw the video, and assuming the video's not a deep fake, he was like the number one guy. He was one of the top list that they would target. And the reason they just dropped the charges is very suspicious. But he wasn't one of these 26. This was, prior to January 6th, they had informants and assets. And I think their assets also planted the pipe bombs. You remember the pipe bombs? They dropped that story quickly because they didn't need to use it. I think that was their plan B. Plan A was to try to entice people going to the Capitol. And then if that didn't work, plan B was to set off the pipe bombs and blame Trump supporters for it. But I believe 100% the people that planted the pipe bombs were working for the FBI. Again, they weren't FBI employees. They're idiots that got caught with, say, drugs with weapons and they faced a long prison sentence and they cut a deal. But the idea that we have, this used to be considered a conspiracy theory, right? Now we know it's not a conspiracy theory. There were FBI informants at the location at January 6th, which makes a lot of sense to me. I would be surprised if there wasn't. I think that I always thought was pretty clear here. All right, I'm gonna queue up if I have my producer. I need to be like Alex Stein. That guy just did a stupid rat talk about a grifter, and now he's got like 3 producers. I work for the Blaze. All right, here we go.
I'm John Roberts in Washington. The report reveals that there were a total of 26 confidential human sources in the crowd that day.
So the FBI shouldn't be doing this. Going to the Capitol to protest, like Donald Trump called people to go to the Capitol to protest, that is a protected First Amendment right. There was no reason for the secret police, the FBI, to have their agitators in there to create problems. No reason whatsoever. And in a free society, the FBI director that just resigned, Ray, he's probably wants a pardon by Biden. He should go to jail for this. We shouldn't be doing this stuff.
David Spunt is live from the Justice Department. He has got the news for us. David.
Sandra, 3 of those were authorized and tasked by the FBI to be there on January 6, 2021. We're coming up on 4 years since that day of the Capitol riot. This IG report specifically focuses on the FBI's handling of confidential human sources, or as we know them, FBI informants. For years, the outgoing FBI director, Chris Wray, has been
or FBI assets. Informants and assets are kind of a little bit different. Sometimes they're one and the same. Informants, it's just not politics. The FBI uses it. They can use it for like drugs. Say like if you're dealing drugs, you're kind of a low level, I don't know, cocaine dealer. I've never been in that world, but they bust you. They'll say, oh, we got you with cocaine, and oh, you had a handgun. And that's like a 20-year prison sentence. Tell you what, you don't want to go to jail 20 years, do you? Well, you won't go to jail at all if you work with us, but we want you to tell us who was your distributor, how did you get it, maybe wear a wire trap. We want you to inform on us who, that's typical what they do. An asset is where they actually have you do things like, hey, there's this right-wing group. I've had a couple come up to me. I'm almost confident they were in this category. And they want you to start a group, or they want you to, they agitate you to do something illegal because they don't like the constitutionally protected group. And it's not even racial nationalism, although that's like number one. But during COVID, remember there was anti-vax people, and the FBI, they set up something in Michigan, an anti-vax group that the FBI set up with their assets, not informants, assets, to have this wacky plot about kidnapping the governor. And they entrapped, or they got a honeypot people. That one guy was homeless, literally. He was just there for the free sandwiches. But they get these, or mentally ill people, they get into this so they can do their big bust. And they do this so they can try to discredit, like in this case, hey, if you're against the COVID vaccine, you're like these terrorists. That's what they want to do. And they do this all the time with militias or racial groups or whatever. They will go in the group, they'll be very active, and then they'll start making suggestions that you do something illegal. And it's not even right-wing groups, although they focus mostly on right-wing groups, but and right and left, what do we mean by that anymore? But you remember Occupy Wall Street? That was kind of a big thing. The FBI went to try to break that apart. And I think it was in Ohio, they set up some cell, FBI cell, and the FBI asset was told to try to get people, they were going to blow up a bridge or something. And the other guys in the group that were regular people, they didn't want to blow up a bridge. The guy goes, "Oh, you don't have to blow it up. I'll do it. You guys are pussies. We're not going to hurt anyone. We just have to make a stand against these evil capitalists, these big cats. I'll do it. I just need you to help me go to the hardware store, get this stuff. I'll take full responsibility. This won't be on you." And the guys, they're naive, they're young, like, okay, we'll get you the materials, but we're not going to have any part of this plot. Well, just buying the materials was enough to get them 20 years in prison for a terrorist act. So they do stuff like this all the time. And this is why I'm always urging caution to any group that is somewhat anti the establishment government. You got to be very, very careful that there probably will be an asset in there trying to get you to do something illegal. And sometimes they will. And you just got to hope they're not going to frame you. But sometimes they'll plant evidence.
Been pressed on reports of undercover agents. According to this new report, there were no undercover FBI agents. However, there were 3 confidential human sources.
Yeah, there was no FBI agents. And again, the FBI agents, they rarely do this type of work themselves anymore.
Tasked by the Bureau to be in the crowd on January 6th to specifically watch what the report states is concerns over domestic terrorism. Out of those 3, Sandra and John, 1 entered the Capitol, 2 others entered a restricted area.
Well, it's actually more than that now, we found out.
The report says the FBI did not encourage or authorize any sources to go into the building or a restricted area.
But they did.
In addition to the 3 confidential human sources, the FBI told there were 23 that were there on their own. Now, they had worked with the FBI in the past on other cases, but not specifically on the January 6th rally. Some of them entered a restricted area as well. And what stands out in this report, John and Sandra, none of the confidential human sources that entered the U.S. Capitol or a restricted area were prosecuted by the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office.
No. And just a little understanding how this works about prosecution. They typically will protect their sources. So if you're obviously working for them, they won't convict you for doing things that are related to what they want you to do. But that doesn't mean you got to get out of jail free card for whatever you want to do. So if you're an FBI asset and you decide to rob the local liquor store here in Arkansas, being an FBI asset, it's not going to get you out of jail. You're still going to be prosecuted. So a lot of people, oh, he can't be an asset because he was arrested. Well, that doesn't really matter. I mean, there are 2 different things there.
Remember, this is an office that is still arresting nearly 4 years later and prosecuting people with this case. Now, in a response to the Inspector General, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office says the following. The D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office generally has not charged those individuals whose only crime on January 6, 2021 was to enter the restricted grounds surrounding the Capitol, which has resulted in the office declining to charge hundreds of individuals, and we have treated the confidential human sources as consistent with this approach. Outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray, who announced that he would be stepping down in the next few weeks yesterday, has been pressed on the FBI's role on January 6. Here's just one clip.
Guys,
Yeah, I'm not going to watch an ad here, and but you get the idea. So, yeah, I'm not surprised they were involved. I think they were heavily involved to try to damage Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, because of all these pardons that Biden's doing, I think Donald Trump needs to do a blanket pardon of all the January 6 people that weren't involved in criminal activity, more than trespassing. So, and what was weird, because you have to remember, a lot of the people that were charged, they didn't do anything violent. In fact, they were waved in to go into the Capitol. And let me just see if I have here. Someone kind of broke this out pretty well. And maybe I don't have this here. Oh, here we go. All right, let's kind of go through this because I think this is important. And we need to look at this again. You're right as an American to protest they should not have FBI agents or assets involved with it. And if you're in a group that has not committed crimes, even if the government doesn't like it, they should not be spying on you. So, for example, this goes beyond race. So even parents that were against like CR8, what would you call that? Critical race theory. The FBI was spying on those parents. It's just outrageous. Those FBI agents should go to jail. We have constitutional protected to be in groups that the government doesn't like. You don't have a right to commit crimes, but if there's no evidence that, or history that you've been committing crimes, they don't have any right to put spies in the group. But they do. And that needs to change here. And so they had no reason to have spies in on January 6th. January 6th is the clearest Fed op in history. Yes. And again, January 6th is started as a protest about the fraud in the 2020 election. And I'm not going to rehash that. Some people think there was fraud. Other people think there wasn't. It was a very strange time in our history. We were, I think, in the middle of COVID, the whole George Floyd thing. All the leftists, they had their brain broken because of COVID, mask, and hating white people. It was just mass hysteria. And there was very strange things that went on in that election. But people that wanted to protest that was your constitutional right. Trump said march down to the Capitol and protest. He said do that peacefully. He put out a video and tweet that Twitter deleted saying be peaceful. Majority of people were peaceful by far. Some people broke in the Capitol. The people that did go in the Capitol, the vast majority, they didn't loot, they didn't set fires. They weren't like Susan Rosenberg, who now funds BLM. She sent off a fucking bomb in 1983, and she got pardoned by Clinton. So none of that, right? They just were like boomers taking pictures. Okay, let's see here. The FBI began unconstitutionally tracking extremist group using NSA surveillance software. Yeah, they've been spied on. Just as a matter of hint, I guess I'll tell you guys, or just a good practice. Anything that if you ever have anything real sensitive, never put it in an email or a text. You always got to assume that anything you say in a text or an email will one day become public. Just assume that you'll be better off. Again, 26 CHS operatives were in Washington, D.C. Nancy Pelosi brought her daughter on to document January 6th and said, I've been waiting for this. And Nancy Pelosi refused to bring out the National Guard. And it was all a pretty big setup that happened here. And Capitol police officers were caught on video opening doors and allowing protesters to enter the buildings. So again, if the police are saying, yeah, come on in, and you go in, should you go to jail for that? So it was all a lie, and they started from the beginning of the lie. Remember, they said 5 police officers were killed. The actual number was 0. The only one killed was Ashley Babbitt, who was murdered, in my opinion. She was unarmed, and that black police officer who had a history of malfeasance did it. So it was a very corrupt time, and I do think the people that were in charge of the January 6th Commission, Biden has been trying to pardon them. I think they committed a lot of crimes in that kangaroo court they did. So it was a bad time in our history, and we really need to kind of clear up everything that is happening with that. And I'm not surprised. What is funny, though, us people like me that said that FBI was coordinating this all, that was called a conspiracy theory. Now we have proof that is exactly what happened. All right. And let me make sure I got everything. And let me just, in case anyone wants to call in, invite. I'll send you the invite. If anyone wants to call in and say hi, just say Merry Christmas or something. And if you call in, You don't have to worry. You can keep your camera off, so I won't show you. You won't see your face or anything. So, we'll get to our next story here. This was an interesting story. Remember when this happened? It was considered a big, racist, these racist Chads. Let's take a look at this.
And I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't. And that was wrong.
This was a Duke lacrosse team. So these are like Chads at Duke, white guys. And this ugly black woman claimed that these Chads raped her. And luckily, it really put them through hell. And then there was, this is proof of white supremacy. All these white men raping black women. When I don't mean to be mean, but I don't know many guys of any race that would want to have sex with this, right? But this is a fantasy they have, because if you look at the actual rape statistics, almost all the interracial rape is blacks raping other races. It's almost I think it was almost statistically zero whites raping black women. It just doesn't happen. But she started this tale, believe all women. And she really helped to try to destroy their lives by lying. And now the story was always fishy, but now she's coming clean that it was all fake. Let's listen to this again.
And I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't. And that was wrong.
Yeah, it was wrong. You should go to jail for that. I think if you accuse someone of a serious crime like rape and they didn't rape you, you should serve the same penalty that they would serve. I think this is horrendous. And by the way, believe all women. Why would you believe all women? I mean, women are human beings. They lie like men do. Women lie all the time.
And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me.
There's a lot of this too. Now, all these, I would say almost most rape accusations, I would say, are fake. At least the real, with white guys doing it, violent rapes almost never happen. I mean, what we call rape now is just such a broad definition. Now, a lot of women, they get drunk and they're at a party with a guy. The guy's drunk and they end up having sex. And then the girl's like, oh, I was drunk. Did I really want to have sex with him? I don't count that as rape, but that counts as rape now. But I'm talking rape. You just attack a woman. You don't even hardly know. You just attack her, force her to have sex, right? That almost never happens with white guys. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's really rare. And it almost never happens with a black woman. Because most white guys aren't interested in black women. I mean, I'm not. I don't know many guys that are. So that just there's no sexual excitement there to have sex with this. And so that's why it's very strange. And there's other cases that happen. Remember the Rolling Stones, they put out the article, was it Virginia Tech? About that girl that was supposedly gang raped by the fraternity. And she had this whole story. I remember I did a video at the time, and I think Steven Saylor picked it up, because when she told her tale, she said something that I knew from experience. Well, explain why. But in my youth, rowdy parties and beer bottles, she said something that was Hollywood, but it's not real. And she said that they smashed a beer bottle over her head and it shattered. You get hit in the head with a beer bottle, it doesn't shatter. It just hurts your skull. But she thought that because she saw that in Hollywood movies, because they use a special theater glasses, for special effects. But a real beer bottle, and I did a test on video. I took a skull. I got this kind of fake skull, but it's like the same density. And I hit it with a beer bottle, and the skull just shattered. The beer bottle wasn't touched. So don't do this at home. But if you want to take a beer bottle, don't do it. But it's not going to shatter. It's just going to bust your head open. But she said that, and I'm like, and then they said that they gang raped her on glass, and she had no injuries. So I'm like, this doesn't sound right. Remember that story? I think it was Virginia Tech or something like that. And it was all fake. And she ended up meaning, and that the Rolling Stone got sued, by the way. They should have. So there's a lot of these fake type of stuff that happens.
And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God. And that was wrong. And I hope that they can forgive me.
Well, you know, good for her, at least coming clean. I'll give her this. That is, you know, at least she's coming clean with this, but it really put those boys through hell, her fake accusations. And that's why I hated this all believe all women. It's like, believe all women was sort of like in the 80s, they had to believe the children. You know, when this idea that these Satanists were molesting them. And it turned out that was kind of ridiculous. Let me see here. I'm going to add Blue Eyes. Hey, Blue Eyes, welcome. I think I know you. How you doing, Blue Eyes? You're on the Ramsey Paul Show. What's your question or comment?
Doing good. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
My comment about those beer bottles is, you know, different people have different, like, strength to their skull, all right? And I think some people are so thick-headed that maybe they could break a beer bottle with their skull. Other people, not so much, all right?
Yeah, I did the test on it wasn't a real skull, but it just shattered the skull. A beer bottle is pretty strong. It's not like what you see in the movies. And I don't want anyone to test it on themselves because it'll hurt you. But it doesn't shatter as easily as you would think. Like if you hit someone, it's not going to go shatter the bottle.
I mean, yeah, if you took it and you hit it against the head of an average woman, you know, it probably would kill them. But I think that, like, some men, I mean, I've suffered quite a few blows to the head, and I just don't think that it would break it.
Yeah, I got hit on the head with a beer bottle years ago, and it didn't break. And I'm not saying that, but I mean, just yeah,
but we don't know unless we test it. I don't want to test it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it turns out her story, anyway, she admitted was fake. She was never gang raped on glass because supposedly they hit her over the head with a beer bottle, shattered the glass, and then they all gang raped her for hours, and she had no injuries. And Rolling Stone believed that. Yeah,
that just sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Like, a lot of people, if they have nothing going on, they'll make up stories and narratives that make them, you know, the hero, the special one. Like, oh, everybody's gonna see me. I'm gonna get to be seen. Right. You know, and they love that.
It was interesting, that black lady, that minute she lied about her rape, she says she needed that for validation. It's almost like a validation that I'm so sexy and desirable, men can't resist me. Kind of messed up, and they make up these charges. And there's legitimate rape, but it is sad because it kind of diminishes the real rape that's out there when you make up stories like she did. It's very devastating.
Yeah, one time, a lot of years ago, I knew somebody who, like, faked cancer and they collected donations, stuff, this and that. But then they didn't even really need the money, you know. They shaved their head, this and that. Oh, please help me. But I think it was the attention and the validation from the community of being cared for and all of that is what they were after.
Well, you know, here in Fayetteville, there's a famous example of that. Have you ever heard of Boogie? He was kind of famous, or was famous on YouTube. He's a big fat guy, and he used to do World of Warcraft type videos.
Yes, I have heard of Boogie.
Yes, and it's a little trivia. Sasha knew Boogie before he was famous, and she thought not personally, but in an indirect way, and she knew he was kind of creepy back then. But he faked cancer recently, and he had to come clean for that. And I think that's one of the lowest things you can do, is faking that you have cancer. That's a horrible disease, and people that do that, I just lose respect for.
Yeah, that's horrible. You're abusing the social contract of sympathy. Mm-hmm. If we all go around trying to evoke sympathy from everyone, I mean, when somebody really needs that sympathy, when somebody really needs it, the whole community is not going to be as sympathetic to anything, and it really breaks down the trust in society. And you get a situation where it's like New York or whatever, where people would just walk past a murder or whatever.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's bad.
Yeah, maybe like somebody's dying on the street and you hear stories like nobody gives them CPR, nobody even calls 911 because that trust has been broken so many times by grifters.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of ironic because they a lot of times try to put racial in it. And I live in a hillbilly country, pretty much all white. And I often said, let's say if a black guy broke down at the side of the road and some hillbillies drove by, you know what would probably happen? They would probably get out of their car and help him. I'm seriously, that's, you know, the stereotypes are not really true. I think most people want to do good. And so, yeah.
But yeah, people want to help everybody. I think there's something inside of everyone that wants to be helpful. But sometimes that gets killed off by people abusing that natural thing for profit.
Yeah, it really is. And that's why I do admire people like Daniel Penny that would take the time to help other people and protect them. Good for him. He's a big guy, and I think he was courageous doing that, you know? And that was really cool to help other people.
No doubt. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. God bless you. And Blue Eyes, he's in our Gumroad. And he's a really funny guy. He's kind of got a Sam Hyde personality, sense of humor. He's really funny. So he's one of my favorites. So I meet a lot of cool people, and he's definitely one of those. So yeah. So I got another Damien. Mark my words. Trump is going to start a war with Iran. He had to promise the tribe to win and his troubles to disappear. You know, every year in my predictions, I predict that we're going to go to war with Iran, and every year it never happens. So I'm not going to predict that this year. I don't think Trump will. I hope I'm right. You could be right. And Trump does love Israel more than life itself, but some of it is bravado. I don't, you know, last time he was in, he didn't attack Iran. So I'm kind of thinking that won't happen, but you could be right. I know the concern, but this year when I do my predictions, I am not going to predict that he will do that. But you know, we will see. Hopefully, we won't get any more. We don't have time for wars. We don't have the money for wars anymore. All right, let's see here. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is kind of DEI related. Probably DEI related.
We got two new revelations from the Trump Assassination Task Force. According to their report, the Secret Service agent who spotted Ryan Ruth in the bushes outside Trump's golf course was only 5 feet away when he opened fire and missed him.
How do you miss from 5 feet? I'm not the best shot, but I can hit from 5 feet.
Not once, not twice, 6 times.
You shoot 6 times and you miss someone 5 feet away. Wait a minute. 5 feet away, I'm 6'4". So it's like a foot less. That's like point blank. How do you miss with a handgun shooting 6 times 5 feet away? You'd almost have to try to miss. I mean, I know blacks, when they shoot up stuff, they always miss because they hold the gun wrong. But I even think they would hit after that.
He missed him 6 times from 5 feet. How does a trained agent who passed the firearms test miss a target away, 5 feet away?
How does anyone? Forget about training. I just don't know how you do this. You just point 5 feet. 5 feet? That's like, I'm looking at the closet door over here. That's like probably 8 feet. I couldn't miss. I don't understand how they missed.
That's not all. The report says the Secret Service found out at 2:30 in the morning that Trump would be golfing later that day, but they didn't secure the course, allowing Ruth to camp out for 12 hours before anyone saw him.
There's some theory that they wanted him assassinated, the regime. And that could be, but I think it's more incompetence is really what it was.
Meanwhile, Ruth appeared in federal court this morning, and his legal team signaling they're going to go with the insanity defense. How convenient. Ruth's public defender said he has had multiple meetings with a mental health expert while in jail, and the witnesses who saw him before the arrest say he was hallucinating and delusional, of course. Prosecutors also revealed that Ruth has been doing a lot more writing behind bars than initially reported. Ruth has written nearly 40 letters to news outlets in an attempt to persuade them that he's an honorable guy, but they were intercepted before they reached their targets. We also know that only 17 of the 18 cell phones found in Ruth's possession belong to him. Why does he have 18 cell phones? And wait, he has 17. So who owns the last phone? And why did Ruth have it? We got.
Who has 18 cell phones? I have one. That's all I don't know. How many guys you have? This is the weirdest story, right? It's like that Luigi guy. We know everything about him. But how about the first guy that shot Trump's ear? Was it Thomas Crooks? It was like, oh yeah, let's forget about the story. No need looking at him. He was like this guy. Oh, he's not on social media. Oh, we don't know anything about him. The last picture we have of him when he was 14 years old. It's so weird. The whole thing was really weird about that. And so, yeah, so a Secret Service agent fired 6 times at a target 5 feet away and missed all 6 bullets. I don't know how you do that. I really don't know how you do that. You'd have to try not to hit that. I could understand maybe 50 feet away, 5 feet. I'm not a good shot. I could hit someone for 5 feet. And by the way, the best self-defense weapon for your house, if someone breaks in, shotgun. Because you're not going to miss. They should have had a shotgun. They wouldn't have missed 5 feet away. I'll tell you that. Okay. So let's see here. Have some economy stuff. This is good. I hope this is true. I have some crypto.
Tom, it just brings me back to you, the idea that how much of what we're seeing, maybe even a little bit today, is there's been such a regulatory overhang on a lot of these names under the current administration. Now you have a new FTC chairperson. Is that playing a role in any respect to this? Because Dan Ives put out a note today, said Christmas comes early with the new head of the FTC for tech.
It's probably the best way to sort of measure this is what Bitcoin's doing, because Bitcoin faced enormous regulatory burdens over the last few years, and now we have a White House that's embracing digital assets, a new SEC chairman, FTC chairman, a new Commerce secretary. I think
Whoa! Bitcoin at 101, it was there. 101, 101,000. Damn. Damn. That's good.
These are actually being viewed as pro-business, reviving animal spirits, but I think a good proxy is watching Bitcoin.
All right, now I'm going to have to pin you to a target again on Bitcoin, because, I mean, you've been among the most optimistic and outspoken about it for years, to be quite honest. So here we are, above 100,000. What's a legit target for 2025 for Bitcoin?
We think it's going to follow a similar halving cycle that we've seen in the past that would imply something around 250,000 for Bitcoin in 2025.
250,000 in 2025? Yeah, if that happens, I told Sasha we're going to go out, we're going to go to McDonald's, and I'm going to get the biggie size. I'm going to get the biggie size fries. That's what's going to happen.
And on top of that, we have a Trump put because Bitcoin is potentially a strategic reserve asset for the U.S. government.
Wow, 250,000. I'm not saying I believe that, but I would be very happy if it got to be that point. And Trump's been very, very good for that. And I'm skeptical. I don't think it'll be that high. But who knows? I'm kind of a cynic by nature, so who knows? All right. That was good. And I'm excited. After the show's done, I go to Fayetteville tomorrow, see Sasha. Hi, Sasha. She's probably listening at work. And we're going to a cat show. So that should be a lot of fun. This was kind of funny. This is one of those, this was, I think, in the 90s. It's so funny how the culture has changed. You know, they had, Bud Light had Dylan Mulvaney, the guy that pretends to be, he's a homosexual that dressed up like a girl. This is how their ads used to be when they were a little bit cooler.
What's that?
That's a swear jar. Every time someone swears, you put a quarter in it.
Swear jar. My grandmother used to have that because she didn't believe in swearing, but sometimes when she get real mad, she would swear. I mean, not fuck, but she would say, "Oh, that jackass," and then she'd have to put a quarter in the swear jar.
Who gets the money?
I don't know. We'll use it to buy something for the office, like a case of Bud Light or something.
Fucking awesome. You, Bob.
You, Jim.
Eric, I have a bag on line 3 for you.
Can I borrow your pen? Can I borrow your f***ing pen?
Will the owner of a white station wagon please go yourself?
We're gonna go down there and we're gonna some. We're gonna some. We're gonna do whatever we have to because we're gonna some.
Poop.
Doesn't count.
Shut the up!
I am so proud of you mother suckers. Here, here.
Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
Yeah, they couldn't do that anymore. That was great, though. I prefer that versus homosexuals in dresses. Maybe we'll get back to that. That was pretty funny. That was like a guy ad. That was like a ad that would appeal to Bud Light drinkers. All right, one more video. I always do it. Some people, this one lady I talked to, Amran, she just listens to my RAMZPAUL show every day. Hello. But she never watches it until I get to the very end because she always likes to look at the animal video. So here's your animal video. It's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. Look at this dog with a sheep. I think it's a sheep, just protecting it. Oh. The dog's submissive, showing his belly. Oh. Dogs are great. Dogs are great. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. And if you haven't already, join my Gumroad. We're having our roundtable here on Sunday at noon. I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. I have a cat show tomorrow, and then we're having a gathering here. A little party, not a huge party, but get together, fellowship. Sasha has been busy cooking, and Sasha's a really good cook, so I'm looking forward to eating that. And then we'll see. We'll see when we do Night Owls again. But then next week, another busy week. So thank you guys so much for being here with me. Thank you. I appreciate all the interaction tonight. It's been a lot of fun. And thanks for calling in, Blue Eye Dragon, and other people. In the future, consider calling in. You'll be fine. I don't bite usually. So thanks, guys. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.